everyone, Scrappy Cathy here, and this is a completely different video from ones I usually do. Most of the ones recently that have actually that have included Calvinball, and that's anything since March 1st, it was also done for whatever purpose it was originally intended. I added Calvinball points to it. This one is a purely Calvinball layout, and I thought I'd go through and kind of show you what the process is when you get this many rules. And I've got, right now we have 49 so-called permanent rules that will be around here till the end, and it keeps getting added to. And we have 46 temporary bonus points, but a lot of those have been eliminated, and I'll note those as we go through. So what I did was I took a photo the other day showing the mess that my table was in, and I had to clear all of this and fix dinner just a short time after this was taken. So I brought it into my word processing system, added this, I blame it on Calvinball, that's going to kind of go along with my title, and I'll do some lettering on it when we get to that. And I thought I would do this. This is kind of what your table looks like when you go through searching for points. Maybe you have them on your table. Maybe you go get a sticker sheet and you use the one sticker from it, and then you stick it over here on top of that tray of embellishments, and things get later. Maybe you empty this little bowl and it's kind of sitting there. You have this washi tape. It's kind of a free-for-all when you're throwing something together, especially for me if I'm not filming. If I am filming, I do some pre-work where I assemble everything that I'm going to use, kind of like I've done now. You'll see, I'll bring this tray forward. Most things I'm going to use are in this tray. And maybe I'll be able to find them when the rule comes up and I try to put them on the layout, and maybe not. This is the photo. One of the points you get is for a large photo. We'll get to that later. So I made this a really large photo. And you also get points for multiple photos. So I have another photo in there, and you get a point for that photo being of your, or for a photo of yourself. And now I can't find that photo. I told you I had it all there, but I might not be able to find it, so I'm going to have to look on my floor. I'm actually going to stop the video and start over because that's kind of an essential part of the, oh, here it is. Geez. Okay. There we go. So we'll get to that, and I'll explain a lot kind of as I go along. This isn't exactly a tutorial, but if you're not familiar with Calvinball, you can kind of use it as a tutorial. And I make no claims to be an expert or for this to be the most efficient process. It's the way I do it, and so it, take it as this is how one crazy lady does Calvinball. So here is the list of rules, and one thing that I'm going to do, you get a point for having a list on your layout. So I thought, what better thing to have than a list of the rules? So I'm going to print this out again, and I'm going to cut out each rule, and that's going to be a lot of. And then I'm going to add that tag to the element and tell what it stands for. I'm either going to do that or I'm going to handwrite around it, and I'll do that off camera after the fact, but you'll know that I'm gonna add that. What I also could do is print the rules very, very small and kind of put them as an embellishment sticking out of the top of the layout. And that, I may do that. So just know when we get to the rules when I'm gonna have that one covered. Okay, so permanent rules. It starts out with your first layout in the Calvinball 2020 gallery. Did that first of the month. White lettering or gel pen or title. So I have white lettering up here. I'm going to add the rest of my title with these white letters. These are some light thickers. And I'm going to add it across the photo because the photo is meant to convey that there's a mess, but probably don't expect a whole lot of people to look at the details that are in there. Okay, so I'm gonna go kind of right here. It's gonna be, I blame it on Calvinball, and kind of the thought that occurred to me was all the livelong day. That's actually song lyrics, and I get a point for that. So that's what this is gonna say, is all the livelong day. And I'm gonna kind of put it wonky and a little bit close together so that that it fits without covering too much. And this maybe I could have done ahead of time. You'll get to see me spell on camera. Live long. Can I fit it there? I'm gonna just do this. And then what I'm planning to do after this is just one by one take the rules and kind of do them top or bottom. So I'll kind of look, I'm expecting that most of the things I have are kind of oriented, or I assume they are, and I picture them going at the top. But we need to also have things down at the bottom. So I'll be careful for things that I don't want to hide any words or hide any parts. I've got a tag that has a sentiment on it. I want all of that sentiment to show, so I'm probably going to layer it over the photo and kind of sticking up at the top. And now I'm losing how I'm spelling things. And G. So it's kind of like working on the railroad, right? At least this. And I'm going to do this. And this. And we're almost done, guys. Okay. There we go. Now, I'm going to do something I don't usually do. I'm going to try, where is the package? I'm going to put this back in the package. So, and put it in a pile of these things go somewhere else. These things need to get put away. Okay. So that white lettering one is done. I'm also going to be writing with my white pen, and I have the pen here. That's why I did it on a black background. I'll probably do some journaling along here and along here, but I'll wait until the end to do that. And it's going to relate to the fact that I do this all the livelong day, and then I have to take it all off and undo it, and that forces me to organize it. I'm seeing something here that I did one photo corner and then I couldn't find the other. Photo corners are one of the rules. We'll see that later, and I'll remind you again that I already have those on there. But I didn't want to lose this other one. I'm going to place it over here. I've also done some ink splatters because I wanted them to dry before I started filming. I have smeared them far too often. Okay, so now we go to the next one, a frame. Okay, not a problem. We have a rule in there for foliage, and I actually have a frame that's made from foliage. So this I pictured going up here, but I think I'm going to put it down here, and I'm going to cut it so that I can use the other piece of it, and it doesn't get interfered with the foam that's under that photo. So this is something else that can be used again. I'm going to put it over with my flowers and foliage, knowing, of course, that it could also be used as a frame. I'm going to be layering some things on top of this, so I'm going to leave it flat. I'm going to stick it under the foam. I'll do this. I'm looking for a spot where the photo isn't very interesting, and it's okay if I cover it up with my... I want it out far enough so that you can see that it's a frame, and it reads as a frame, and it looks like a frame, and it wants to be a frame, and all those things. Because I'm going to let it be the frame for my black and white photo here. Let me lift it up, and we'll get, when we get to that rule, we'll know that it's already there. Gonna lift this up, kind of insert it like that, and then I'm going to use a pop dot. We have a point. We get a point for something spooky, and I thought I could use the photo. When I printed the photo, I thought, oh, good, this will work for my something spooky. But it says a spooky embellishment, and I'm using this as a photo, so I can't use it as an embellishment. Okay, so so I added this little Halloween skull guy that I cut up a bunch of those off of some pattern paper. Okay, let's get back to the list. So we have a frame. Stencil, or a digital stencil effect. Well, I have a fun thing to tell you. I fully intended to use a stencil somewhere on here, but I got playing around this morning with, you've seen that I've had these shamrocks on my layouts, and I just fussy cut around them. I printed, it was a free image on the internet. I printed them, fussy cut around them, and most of the time cut them in half and layered them off to the side. But while I was there doing that, I'm not sure why, but I looked up shapes, and I found a shamrock shape, and I found, when I create backgrounds, or kind of backgrounds for cards or backgrounds for layouts, anything with paints or stencils, or in a lot of cases even art journal pages before I've started putting on photos and sayings and things like that, when it's just the art. And this was a watercolor that I did. It was a rainbow watercolor technique that I demonstrated in some one of my Getting Messy mixed media classes, just showing how to do a quick background. I scanned it, I pulled the shape, and this is in my word processing system that I found the shape, pulled the shape onto my document, and then I dragged the photo of my rainbow, and it snaps into the shape, and then I adjusted the size so that it was covered. So this qualifies as watercolor, rainbow, and shamrock. So I get a 3 for there. And I got started looking at the shapes, and in the process, I found a camel. And I pulled in a piece of artwork where I had done some acrylic paint, and then I stenciled some texture paste over it. So this is a stencil. It is a digital stencil effect, and we have a point for a camel, a point for a digital stencil effect, and a point for purple, and this little guy has all 3. So, digital stencil effect, I'm thinking he can go here, and I'm going to put a little bit of foam behind him. I don't care if he covers up my, this part of my desk pad. And then I can maybe layer something else under him since he's there. So I've got him there, and I can put something else down here. And I think I will in a minute. Okay, so that's my stencil. Next is my arrow. Now before I do, I have an arrow and a banner cut from the same piece. This was a long arrow piece that came in Wildflower and Honey from Vicki Boutin. And what I thought I'd do is use the banner down at the bottom and the arrow down up at the top. And I thought I could use, I have a piece of a doily here, and I thought I'd use it right here, and then these cut edges I would hide with other elements. So this is a little bit too long. So I'm gonna do this, and that's a scrap that I can use, so I just kind of need to put that on the tray loose and use it as a scrap. I can maybe cut a snowflake or whatever out of it. Let me see if I can get this. It worked. So that'll make it stick. I'll kind of put that there. And I'll put this guy here, and that dictates, and all of this, I'm putting the banner and the doily before they come up in the rules, just because I want the continuity when I do this arrow that's going on next. I think I may, well, what I'll do is I'll put this here, I'll put a little bit, I want the arrow to have some dimension, I want it to stick up, so I'm putting a pop dot up at the top of it, and I'm going to just eyeball it to see that it's in the same place. So it looks like there's a really long arrow all the way under the picture, and I'm using it as a banner and a well, I'll do this later when we get to feathers. I'll just kind of put them aside knowing that I have them. I'm going to use the feathers over here. Let me make sure you can see the whole thing. There, I think if I leave it exactly where it is, everything's fine. If I move it over a skosh, we're still okay. All right. Next on the list, we've done the arrow. Complete an unfinished layout or project. I can't say, I can't take that point. If you really wanted to stretch it, you could say, I completed, later on, I completed the project of cleaning all this mess up, but I'm not going to take that point. Date stamp. Okay, I have the date stamp. The date of this mess was March 14th, 2020, and I've got, my date stamp has the option to pick phrases. It's from Smashbook, and it's old, but what my saying is, it is happy place. So I'd like to stamp it kind of right in the middle of the mess. So I'm doing that. All right, happy place, March 14th, 2020. So it's my happy place, but it was really messy. So let me put the ink away and the date stamp away. Okay, so we've got the date stamp. Circle. I have I needed a tag, I needed some books, I needed a coffee cup, and I needed a dessert. So I've got a circle here that has a donut on it, and I've got my stack of books. I had it was a full thing. I cut it in half and stuck it onto the back of the tag there, you can see. And I stuck the circle back there too. And there's also the circle in the kind of reinforcer thing that's printed on the tag. But I want to get this tag on as soon as possible because I'm not quite sure where it's going to go. I could cover this up, and then it kind of says, I can put it off at an angle like that. It covers up an element of the photograph, our door. If that door were attached to the, where actually there, it's a door that we took from the last house we lived in, and it's actually leaning against the frame and the real door that's there. So the light comes in, but the other glass is clear. This has a diffuser in it, so we still get the light. We live in a basement, so light is important. I guess what I'm saying is that's an unfinished project that one of these days I could finish and claim a point for it, because it doesn't have to be a paper crafting project. It just has to take some time and be kind of something you do or are interested in doing. I'm going to, when it's done, I'm going to probably claim a point for some of the design work I've done on repairing my grandson's bathroom. The thing that's taken all my time away from Calvinball. Okay, so I've got this here, and we'll see as we get to books, coffee cup, tag, circle, dessert. So we've got all those points covered with that element there. Okay, let me put that to the side. Okay, so that was just a circle. Enamel dots. I have a couple of enamel dots that I pulled this morning. They were kind of off by themselves on a sheet of acetate. I'm gonna use them someplace just in a little, I don't really want to use them yet because I don't see all the places where there may be spots. I guess I could use them right over here. I'm not going to put anything to the left of that. So let's do that. I'll take them off and kind of put one there, and that determines where the other one goes. Oops, I've still got the acetate backing there. Okay, these small ones, oh, it came off in exactly the right place. All right, cool. Okay, enamel dots, die cut. These books are a die cut, and so is the donut. So I got that covered. Die cut or ephemera. Geometric patterned paper. Okay, I've got... Okay, I have this line of balloons. These balloons were cut with a punch. So I have an EK Success punch, and it's a border punch, and they're cut out of a geometric pattern paper that's a green on white. So I'm going to lay these down here. I'm going to leave them up a little bit so that you can see the little balloon bottom. I may, because they're there, if I run twine or string or something down, I could do that and maybe route the string so that it doesn't disturb the words I have there. This is not doing well. I thought I had my liquid glue issues fixed. Now it's there, and as long as one shows and has the look of a balloon, and I can put strings under, or around all of them, I can still layer some other elements. Like, for example, I could put a dog there, and and it still doesn't destroy the look of the balloons. Okay, so that's my geometric pattern paper. Song title, lyrics, that's the All the Livelong Day, that's on there. A label. Okay, I've done a label. I had some really tiny elements and I wanted to get them where they weren't just completely on this tray, and where I had some, I combined some things. So I took this label. There is also a rule for stitching, and I ran 2 stitches, little lime green stitches, because that's the thread that was in the needle at the time. Some striped pattern paper. We have a snowman and a snowflake, and sequins. So that snowflake is a sequin, and I wouldn't have to use any other sequins. We'll see if I want to. This could go... this could kind of go down here, I think, maybe even overlapped on the photo. I'm going to do that. I've got some washi tape behind it to hold the thread, and just so you know, I'm going to use other washi tape for my point, because this washi tape doesn't show. I have had people ask if you use washi tape to hold things onto your layout, does that count even if you can't see it? And I'm going to say that it doesn't. I don't know what the ruling would be, but I'm going to assume that does not, and I'm going to still use some. Okay, so I've got that little label on there. I've made it hard for myself because I may want to write something on here, or I may glue a phrase sticker. So I'm leaving it blank. And that's covered quite a few rules. We'll see. Okay, a label, a list. The list, as I said, is going to be all the rules. And I'm going to be writing those or typing them and laying them over. Or I'll print this very small and kind of tuck it in, maybe behind this, this tag. But there will be the list of Calvinball rules as of today. Okay, next we have handwriting or my own handwriting font. Well, I'm going to be, as I said, I'll be writing something. Well, let me go ahead and do it with my trusty white pen here. These are the most wonderful white pens. I get more questions about what white pen I use. It's a Uniball Signo broad tip. And I'm sure there are other tips, but the broad tip lets the ink flow really well. And I got one of these from Alice Bowl at the first Scrap Happy reunion that I attended, which was in San Diego. She gave these as gifts to all the attendees, and I have never looked back. I had about 10 different white pens that I came home and threw them away because I'd been struggling to make them work, and this was just perfect. So I'm gonna say who knew it'd be this much mess to clear for dinner. So I'll leave that there, and we'll see if I need embellishments along here, because it's actually not a bad place to have to bridge some embellishments. We'll see if we need it, and if not, I probably will write something down here about the fact that I do have to clear the table for dinner keeps me organized, and that's critical to Calvinball success, let's say. Let's see, what's our next thing? Handwriting, heart. There is a tiny heart on this coffee cup, it's a clear sticker, and the pattern of the book shows underneath it. I tried to peel it up, and then what I do sometimes with clear stickers is I mount them on white paper, and then I fussy cut them out, and I was willing to do that here, but it didn't peel up very well. Let me... Okay, okay. This seems to be working, starting it from there and working it with tweezers. Okay, let me do that. I'm going to, where, I know I have a piece of white paper somewhere. I'm just going to use this white card part of this. I cut sunglasses out of it for back when sunglasses were a rule. They're not anymore. But I will cut the inside of this. This was a cut apart card from whatever collection that's from. And I can use the white just as white cardstock for little small tiny projects like this. And because I was gonna cut it out and throw it away anyway. We should get a point for reuse, recycle, whatever. Okay, I'm gonna actually put this on a dot. I should have put the dot on the thing. Again, okay, and I'll put that guy right there. So the idea there is you've got a donut, a cup of coffee, and some books, and you're making good use of the day. So that, actually, reading books is something I do not do during Calvinball. I don't do much else. I do cook meals, but I don't do much else. Well, Barrett's bathroom. I'll explain that later. Let's see, we've got the heart, the multiple photos we have here. We have the big one and the small one. Black and white photo, that scary one of me dressed in my Halloween costume with my teeth all nasty. That, and there's a story behind that too. That's a black and white photo. This photo was taken when I was dressed up for Halloween when we were still living in Houston, and I took a picture of it myself or I had John take a picture of me because you couldn't turn the camera around and do selfies in those days. And he took this picture, and I sent it on my phone to my son, and he showed it to the kids, and it scared them. They were afraid that Grandma looked like this now. So sadly, as the years go by, I'm getting closer and closer to that. Okay, let's see, the black and white photo, flowers. I've got flowers on the arrow and the arrow and the banner, and I've got a flower here on the frame. So my flowers are covered. Foliage or leaves? Well, I've obviously got foliage and leaves here, and there's a leaf on the hibiscus, but I have this beautiful tropical leaf perspective, and because I'm such a lover of all things and places that are tropical, I try to put some kind of tropical something or other, and the hibiscus would have worked, but I want to use this. I'm going to kind of slide it under the photo, and it'll somewhat, well, it's not working like I wanted it to. And you know why that is? It's because, I'm going to pull that out. It's because I let this be flat. What I can do is work it this way. I can slide it under the photograph. Okay, it needs glue because I wiped all the glue off. in the previous thing. And just so you know, these kinds of things, especially in Calvinball, when I'm trying to put so many things on a layout, these kinds of things like realizing they're not going to work. Okay, I don't want to cover my two little yellow enamel dots. So, okay. So the glue's not dry yet. You really can't see that unless you're kind of looking for it, but I know it's there, so that's cool. Okay, so let's get back. We've got the foliage and leaves. We have the balloons, and this counts for balloons. It counts for geometric pattern paper. So that's called double dipping. And there are some days that are no double dipping days. Thankfully, today is not one. Stamping. Okay. I have... What? Oh, okay. I selected this phrase from a Vicky Boutin set of stamps and dies. It's this So Fun. And so I thought I could stamp it down here on top of, you see right here in the photo is my stamping block. and so I thought if I did this right here, that would be kind of fun. So let me do that. I put away my ink. And it would have been good to do that. This part is fully on the foam. And here's the foam, by the way, where I kept my foam that day. It's not where I'm keeping it today. But I've got this kind of in the way and this. Hopefully I can still press down enough to get a good impression. We'll see. And my fallback for those kinds of situations is to stamp it on white paper and then fussy cut it and put it over the bad image. Okay, so it didn't come out perfect, but nothing on this page is perfect, so it's fine. I think the way I can get it a little bit, let me clean that off and put it back away so that I don't have orphan stamps lying around and no idea what set to return them to. This is something else. This is a promise I made to myself for this Calvinball, is to put stamps away, because I've lost stamps at every other Calvinball I've done. And next year I need to make the same rule for putting away dies. I finally did put dies away last night. Okay, I'll put my block where it goes for every day. Okay, we're getting to near the end of this list. Let's see, we've got stamping, photo corners. We've put the photo corners on there. They're wood veneer. And I think I have a couple other wood veneer pieces. I don't need that many to get the wood veneer point, and I only get 1 point no matter how much wood veneer I have. But I liked these when I saw them. I was going through my stash looking for dogs, actually. And I found these photo corners, and I decided to use those. 5 layouts put away. I don't think you can see my stack of layouts, but I think I'm getting close to 40, so that would get me 8 points. I will, before I total up these points, I will get those layouts into page protectors and into albums. So I'll get that done later. Memorabilia. So I thought, well, let's see, memorabilia. What would be memorabilia for a page like this? And I thought one of the big things about Calvinball is using stash. And I have this fully used page of Pop Dots. I also have, you know, dead sticker sheets, lots of these that I've finished off, and things like that. Lots of stuff in the trash I could have pulled out as a memorabilia. But I'm going to use this. It's a Pop Dot backing, and it's white, so it'll kind of pop against the black background, and I'll just kind of layer it here, and then I'll put something else on top of it. I'll let it be a background for something. But that gets me the memorabilia point. The problem is trying to figure out how I'm going to get it stuck back there. I think I'm going to have to use liquid glue. So I'll do that. And let me get my little piercer in there. It doesn't look like a piece of trash back there, and by the time I layer something on it, it won't. Okay, so that's memorabilia, number 25. So now we go to photo of yourself. That's what I've got right here, and vellum. Now I've got some pretty vellum here. It's from a Webster's Pages collection from many years ago. And I cut out a cloud before that has kind of part of, these are like Chinese lanterns and some sky. And I got a little bit of the red from the Chinese lantern in there. And I also stamped on it the little baby dinosaur, and I'm going to use that on another layout. But I thought I'd just punch this cloud that has some red and some blue, just because I think it's pretty, and because this guy is white, this will show up. I'm gonna overlap the photo, but you'll get some there, you'll see right there, the colors will show up against that. So I think I will just dab a tiny bit. This glue dries clear and matte, so it does not show under vellum, especially if you burnish it when you first layer it on. So let me kind of do that. And by burnish, I mean just kind of rub it. And so that gives it some dimension, and I'll show you what it looks like right side up. It's kind of like that. There's a little bit overlapping the black in the photo, but it kind of goes there. And I thought I could still yet put something else down there. So let's see what else we need to have. We have the vellum, the large photo, no problem with that. Striped pattern paper we have here with this little tag right here. Books, I've got books there. Acetate. I have an acetate butterfly. Now they've taken the butterfly rule away, but I'm going to use this for the acetate point because I absolutely love it. And it being acetate, it's kind of transparent. It also has gold foil, and we'll need that in the next set of rules. I usually don't have problems with gold foil. So I thought maybe it could go like that. The gold foil makes it show up on black, and the blue color, that's the color of the acetate, shows up against the white of that memorabilia from Killing a Sticker Sheet. Okay, so we've got our acetate out there. Watercolor. Okay, for watercolor, I've got my shamrock, and the shamrock is going to show up in the next set of rules, but this is my watercolor art that I took a picture of, and it's just as much watercolor as a digital scrapper's watercolor would be. So I could maybe group this maybe over in this same little section. That might be too much. Where else could it go? I don't want it there. Maybe here. I don't want to kind of do this and lose the top of it, and I don't really want to do it upside down or sideways. So this is one of those things that needs to have an upwards orientation. How about I could layer it here. That's what I'll do. I will layer it on the photo and let it kind of rise above the balloons. And I just want to show you a page. When I went crazy with the shapes like I did here, I pulled that shamrock shape down into my word processing system and filled it with a background. I found lots of other shapes. We need medical symbols, and I've got an ambulance that I dragged in some of my watercolor and this kind of Red Cross and the Band-Aids. And I think I have, I did cut out one of the Band-Aids planning to use it here. But I have some of Ava's art that happens to have rainbow colors, and I dragged that into these microscopes. And some other watercolors I dragged onto some dinosaur shapes, some butterfly shapes, another dinosaur. There's some more of those camels I'm using. And then I printed this. This is the very first thing I made with Tim Holtz Distress Oxide inks, and I use it as a background for my labels on my layouts. So I thought I'd do this, and maybe I can print some snowflakes or some hexagons or some, or not print, punch out of this. So I use that for punched shapes. And we have a wood grain rule. And for this layout, I'm going to use it on a hexagon, so I get 2 points for that. But I took a photo one time of the really nice wood grain in the bleacher stands at one of my grandson's basketball games. And I ran it through several filters to give it different colors so that I could use it for things like this. And I dragged that wood grain over into this T-Rex. No, this is a T-Rex. Anyway, dinosaur. And so I've got all of these things I can kind of, I also have some watercolor here. It's a watercolor effect that I made with dripping salt into wet watercolor, and it's purple, so I get watercolor, purple, and dinosaur out of that one. I'm going to put that aside. I don't need those for this layout, but those are some things that I now have to draw from. Okay, so what was our last thing that we did? We did watercolor, camera. Let's see what I've got in the way of a camera. I've got a wood veneer camera, and what I like to do, the camera could go down here. Let's see, that's just glued flat on there. It could go like this. I will do that. And then I'm going to put a bling as the very next rule. And I'm going to put some bling in the center of it, in the lens. So it's going to go, the bling is going to go right there. And let's see if I have some large bling. I do. I have this kind of amber color. So I'll pull that. This is my sequin and bling container that some things I designated that I wanted to use. I think there's no glue on the back, no adhesive came off with this bling. So I'm gonna put a dab of glue there, kind of stick it right there. Okay, so that's a That's the bling rule and the camera rule. Okay, next is sequins. All right, I've already got this little sequin snowflake, and at the moment I'm not feeling that I need to put any more sequins, but if I have an empty space like this up here, I may line some up later just to add some interest. I may, if I feel like it could benefit from it, I may use something down here. For now, no sequins. No more sequins. Hexagons. I've got this little hexagon, and I like using things, plain shapes like that, as platforms for other embellishments, kind of like I'm doing the balloons, and I did that piece of empty sticker sheet. Let's see. This guy could go right. I'm going to kind of overlap. I want it to tuck down in. I'm going to overlap the arrow here. And you know what I think I need to do? I thought popping the arrow up, it would show, but I think it needs some white outlining. We'll see about that. Okay, so we've got the hexagon. We'll go put something on top of it later. Phrase stickers. Okay, I've got some phrase stickers. There's this Life is Sweet one that I really love because it's when I'm scrapping at all, but especially when I'm doing Calvinball, which I love so much, life is truly sweet. So I like this area where I've got the happy place date stamp. I can just layer it over that, and you've got some shadowing down there, so it really has some nice dimension. I've got, let me put that back in my How to Kill a Kit with Style rack. Most of my supplies for my layouts in Calvinball are coming from my How to Kill a Kit with Style kit, which consists of a lot of Vicky Boutin collections, a lot of Paige Evans, Truly Grateful, and there's some Horizon leftovers in there too, and possibly a few other, primarily those. I can see some Heidi Swap stickers sticking out there. Let's see, the little things also kind of, I like this idea. This is actually perfect. The little things, meaning, like I look at this picture, this photo, and it's a mess, and yes, I have to clean it up. But one of the little things in life is realizing that you can do this. I got a chance, and I have the stuff to do this. And so I thought the little things would be appropriate for that. But it actually has another meaning in that I told you I used that label, and I didn't want to lose my little things like that little tiny snowflake and that little tiny snowman. But this isn't a layout about winter, so I don't need those things to be a big part of the page of the story. I'm going to put that upside down. That would be a little thing, right? Okay, so this is good. I'm glad I didn't write on this tag because that sticker goes perfect. So I did 2 of them because the thing has an S on it. I don't always do that. Like snowflakes, I'm perfectly happy to have 1 snowflake on there. So I'm assuming it's in your supply of snowflakes, use 1. Let's see, is there anything else on here? Wild, carefree. I should use about 50 of them because they're wonderful, but I think I've got the two meaningful ones. Okay, now the next thing is phrase stickers, banners. I've got my banner. And there's one that says banners, and I'm just going to use one. Let's see, feather. Okay, I've got a couple feathers, and one of these feathers was chosen because it has a geometric pattern on it, and the other because it has polka dots, and we have a polka dot rule coming up. So I'm going to go ahead and use this. I don't need the geometric pattern paper because I have it on the balloons, but I still want to use two feathers, and I like their colors. So I'm going to kind of use them to hide the cut end of this let me burnish that and get it stuck down there. Okay, it hides the cut end of my doily. All right, now we go to banners, musical symbols. Okay, for my musical symbols, we have a washi tape rule, and we have musical symbols, and I have some washi tape with musical symbols, and I'm not sure where I'll use it. I think I'm going to layer some right above this doily and slightly under the photo. I might normally rip the washi, but for this, I just will kind of put it so only half of it shows. Let me do that. Not enough of it showing there. Thankfully, it doesn't stick. It's very old. We have a new rule for using old supplies, I think. And many things that I'm using here are actually old, but this may be one of the oldest. Okay, so there's my musical symbols. It's not too obtrusive, but you can see it's there. Okay, musical symbol, coffee cup, got that. A coffee cup or beans. A grid layout. This is not a grid layout, never will be, never could be, so that's a point I will not get. Nautical. Okay, I have a box here of kind of beachy, vacation-y, travel-y sorts of things. You know what I'm seeing here are some foliage that I could put over in here. And I saw this lighthouse sticker and this sailing sticker. They're old. They're K and Company from the same line as these fish, and I love them, and I got a lot of them, and then I got tired of them. So, but what I'm seeing here, I have this small sticker sheet from the Fancy Pants line called Nautical. How appropriate. And this is an actual painting I did of a palm tree, and I scanned it, reduced it to small, and cut it out and ran it through my Xyron to make stickers. And I just kind of stuck it there so I could use it if it were ever appropriate. There's this little thing that says Anchors Away. There's this that has sailboats on it. But what I'm liking is this lighthouse. It's the right size. I also have this puffy sailboat. Do I need a do I have any other puffies? Yes, I have a puffy pineapple, so I don't need that. So what I think I'm gonna do, let me put that back across the table. Is there some place I can tuck this? Oh, I could do that. Let me cut that out. I'm actually going to save the on the lake part because we used to live right on a lake in Texas, and I could probably use that for some photos there. Let me see if that works. That's a, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take this sky and put it someplace else, and I'm going to let this overlap the arrow. I think that works nicely that way. I may put this maybe down under here, overlapping the, let's see how that works. Well, I tell you what I'll do. I'll withhold judgment until I decide what I'm going to put on top of it. But I have to remember that I need it. Okay, so we'll go back through the rules. Where did my rules go? Here we go. Okay, we're back to nautical ferry. Okay, I have a sticker sheet. I won a prize when I won the bingo game at Mind the Scraps Cybercrop a couple weeks ago, and this was my prize, and I'm going to give most of it to Ava, but I'm going to use the fairies for Calvinball. So there's one. Okay, I'm going to layer it underneath the butterfly, and so I need the fairy part, the fact that she's holding the magic wand, to kind of show, kind of be out in the open. Okay, is that good? I don't want to cover her face either, though. Is this one of those that we can put under the, or kind of overlapping the balloons? I think we're going to go with that. I will prop her head up with a pop dot so she gets a little bit of dimension, and I'll put her right there. Now I don't need the rest of that sticker. I was going to look and see if there's some word and phrases. There's some cute little sunglasses, but that's not a rule anymore. And we've got a cat already. See if there's anything. My unicorn made me do it. Ooh, that's kind of cute. Unicorns and fairy dust. I could use the unicorns and fairy dust as a, or roll in fairy dust. The word fairy would satisfy my fairy, so I didn't have to put a whole picture. So I actually could take that fairy up and do one of those word strips, and that would have been a smart thing to do. But I'm done with that. Okay, my unicorn made me do it. Where do I want to put this? What's a good place? All the live long. I could put it across my scissors, and let me put a little, give it a little dimension by cutting some foam. Just a couple weeks ago, I bought a big, huge stack of foam, but I was doing load last month and all my normal challenges plus 2 cybercrops, 3 actually, and I went through foam like crazy, and I already need some more. Okay, let me just use this and then I'll fold it back. It's almost. Okay. I'm gonna do it kind of right here. My unicorn made me do it. And it's right by the camel and it has absolutely nothing to do with anything. But it's not kind of, it means it's not kind of out on its own. Ooh, and you know what? We haven't got to the cat rule yet, but this is too perfect. The cat is a unicorn. It's a catacorn. And so I'm going to put her, yeah, I'll just cut that off. A little too much there. I'll put it up here. That's perfect. And it kind of fits in with the title there. And it doesn't cover up anything that doesn't, you know, that we'll miss. Let's put it that way. Okay, so we have, did I move the camera there? Oh, I think we're good. Okay, there I moved the camera. I've got fairy pineapple. Okay, I've got a pineapple. And it's puffy, so it counts as the puffy sticker and as a pineapple. And because it's foam and it's easy, it can go up here, kind of underneath. That doesn't look as good as it would if it were tucked underneath. And I'm gonna tear up the photo paper, so I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna remove it. I'm gonna you know what? It's torn. Anyway, now I need to kind of cover up the tear by putting it back over here. Okay, that's not exactly what I wanted to do with that, but you know, stickers and photo paper. Okay, so we'll go back to, I've got my pineapple. Camping. Okay, I have this wonderful sheet, I have a line, I think it's called Happy Camper by Echo Park. And this paper has all these camping scenes. And so I fussy cut this little camping scene. We used to have an RV, and it's something I thought we would do a lot. We got it, let's see, before I had grandkids. No, we got it after I had one grandchild, and just before we had the second. And we camped in there's amazing state parks in Texas. We camped in a lot of those, and we drove it up to Kentucky where the grandkid was living at the time, the kid and, you know, and the grandkid. And we, when we moved it, when we retired and moved to Georgia, it seemed like we'd go out a lot. And we did when they were younger. We find camping areas, but it was hard to, I'd have to say their dad didn't exactly love camping. So, especially for Katie and Barrett, when they would come to visit, that camping wasn't one of the first things James wanted to do, and he wasn't willing to give up time with them to for us to take them. Okay, where do I do the camping scene? Do we want to do it up here? Maybe right there. Okay. It kind of works right there. Over, we've got the lighthouse. Anyway, so we didn't get in as much camping as we had planned, and so we had to go up, find a storage place where it was very expensive, and so we decided that it wasn't our jam anymore. Okay, yellow, we've got that, camping, and we've got yellow, polka dot paper. What do I have that's polka dot paper? Oh, the feather is in this, let's see. You're not seeing the whole thing. This feather is pink polka dot. So we've got that, and tickets. I went on a hunt for tickets. I actually have a die, and I could have punched tickets out of anything, but I knew I had tickets somewhere, and this is an old but unopened sheet of chipboard from Maggie Holmes' confetti collection, and I found this cute little yellow 5-cent ticket. I think that's the only thing I'm going to use from there, so I'll seal it back up and put it in the put away thing. So where can we use this? Oh, maybe behind the pineapple and next to the lighthouse. There we go. Okay, that works out just fine. So we've got that pretty much covered. Let's see what we do next. And we're on the second list. These are the temporary points. Starts with a star. And I've got in these sticker sheets from Vicky Booten, we need a star and gold foil. So these stars are gold foil, and they're tiny, so they're not going to take up a whole lot of space. I'm going to put them out. I'm going to use a few of them, different sizes, and kind of sprinkle them around, kind of like sequins or enamel dots or something like that. It'll kind of light up different areas. I'll put one here. That sparkle will lead you to this poorly stamped So Fun. Okay, so I can put that away. Let me cover this up. Hopefully I don't have to glue anything. Okay, okay, we've got the doily, that's already there. Clover or shamrock, we've got that here. Washi tape we have with the musical symbols. Green is, all over the place. Rainbow, I've got the rainbow. There's a rainbow on the catacorn's tail, but also a rainbow on my shamrock. Wood veneer, I've got the photo corners, and I've got the camera on there so far. I also have a wood veneer dog. Puffy stickers, I've got my puffy pineapple. Wood grain paper. Now we get to the hexagon that I have here and deciding where it's gonna go. I think I'm gonna put it down here like we thought about earlier, but I want it to tuck under the camera. The camera is real wood, so you get a notion of whether that's any good. Okay, and then we've got the wood grain paper. Stitching or sewing, that's on this little tag here, or the little label here. So we're already on the second page of these rules. Pink, I've got pink all over the place. Monochromatic, it is not. Ink splatters, I did some white ink splatters before we started filming. Scrapbook about a woman, and that I am scrapbooking about this woman and, you know, me and my love of scrappiness. Snowflake, I've got here on this little label. Tag, I've got up here. Purple. I have a purple, well, there's purple on the top of my camel, but I need a dinosaur, and I have a purple dinosaur. I have a dinosaur on a purple background, and this I think is from Chamel's field trip. Let me see where I'm gonna put him. Maybe on that wood grain, because that would bring a touch of color there. My washi tape is not sticking to the doily. Doesn't have enough solid points of contact. Okay, so let's see if I can do that. Yes, I can do it so it overlaps, and you can still see that that's a hexagon, and that it's wood grain. So those things are all necessary. Okay, so that's purple. Birds. I've got this cute, adorable little bird. It's a doodle bug. Probably one of the, again, one of my older supplies. I think the washi tape may be older. This may actually be older. But anyway, I was thinking it could go here on the shamrock. Those guys stick really well. Yeah, I like it there. That's cute. You can still see all of the rainbow colors. Okay, so we've got the bird. Snowman we've got here. Cloud, we've got that up here. Cat we've got here with the catacorn horn. Planes, trains, automobiles. I have this tiny little card here, and I thought I would fussy cut the car out of it. It says road trip, and I probably will save that. We're planning to go on a road trip if it seems prudent, given the whole coronavirus thing. We're planning to head to an island. I'm losing, which was near Savannah. And it's not a long road trip, but it's one that we'll take with Ava. Her older brother and sister are with friends for spring break, and she wanted to go to a beach, so we're going to go to this area. Where do we want to put the little tiny car? We're looking at what we have left to do. I don't have much going on right in here, so we've got a dog coming up. The dog could maybe go right here, layered somewhat underneath the greenery, and the car could be on a dot overlapping the dog. I'm kind of reaching here, and you do when you've got things that are not related to that have no bearing in reality, which is kind of part of the fun of it. Some people hate that aspect of Calvinball, but I personally like it, and I like adding avocados and hedgehogs and feathers and band-aids and dogs and catacorns to a page. But I mentioned this before, I also appreciate doing minimalist layouts in April when this is all over. So I'll put the dog there. That dog looks nothing like the dog we have. The car is going to be facing the wrong way, but you know, who can tell? Actually, I'm going to put the car on the frame and let the dog kind of be sitting there under the frame. And I can do this word strip maybe right there, and I can put some foam on it, give it a little dimension, and make it stand out. It's black, I'm putting it on a black background, and that actually looks kind of nice, but I'd like it to maybe stand out a little bit better. And it kind of needs good things take time could refer to Calvinball pages, I suppose. We'll do that, and we have a little star kind of peeking up above it. I could take the star, put a little dab of glue on it, and hang it off of this word strip. There we go. Now we have, let's look at some of the other rules. We have the planes, trains, automobiles. Spooky, scary embellishment is this one over here on my photo. Dinosaur, we've got the purple dinosaur there. Pie, dessert, we've got the donut. On Pi Day, this rule was added. You could use 3.14, whatever, or a pie, or any kind of dessert. So I chose to use the donut that I had, and because it was on a circular die cut. Then we've got dog, and we've put our dog there. We've got health, medical, first aid, and that's this little Band-Aid. And I was thinking maybe we could squeeze it in. Where do we want to squeeze it in? I could maybe, I'm going to tuck it in. I'll lay it flat, and I'll tuck it in under the this word strip, and kind of put it at an angle there. And so the inference being that maybe healing takes time. Not that I've got anything in particular that heals, but who knows when I might have a scrapbooking accident that needs to be patched with a Band-Aid. This is not for a rule, and sometimes I do things on Calvinball that are not for rules. This is a die cut, and I could have used it for watercolor because it's Vicky Bouton's watercolor, but I'm using it because I have it, and it's hard to store and keep it from getting all bendy. And part of what Calvinball is about is using up your stash, so I thought that was reason enough to include it. Okay, let's see what we have. Dinosaur pie, dog, health, we're down to the end, folks. This is it. We're done. I may add some sequins somewhere, but I'm more likely thinking that this is the finished layout. So, hope this wasn't too long for you. It kind of gives you the idea of what you go through when there are lots of Calvinball rules, and kind of it's a for fun page, although I think it's going to be interesting one of these days to look back at something that I was so heavily involved in. as I am with Calvinball. So hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching and sticking with me. Bye.